All right, Town Council, public input session, October 3rd, 2024, Cape Charles Civic Center, 6 p.m. If I could get a roll call, please.
Buckles present.
Holloway present.
Bennett present.
Grossman present.
Let it be known we've established a quorum, and I'm just going to take the microphone just for a little bit before we actually get started tonight, just to say that I cannot believe the overwhelming support and everything that we've had with this town. I don't know if you've seen the pictures yet, but if you haven't, go on and see them. I'm sorry if I lose type, but it's unbelievable. We filled an entire trailer that's actually going down to North Carolina on Sunday. We're still taking contributions tomorrow, so bring them in. I don't even know what to say. It's unbelievable. The help that came in to load it today is just overwhelming. So thank you, Cape Charles. Thank you all. Thanks everybody that helped out. Yeah, so we'll start there. But tonight we're going to talk about public input on the Beachfront Master Plan. And Mr. Hosey, or
Thank you. First of all, I just want to state for the record that Councilman Buda is not able to attend because he's out of country and he doesn't have reliable internet, so he's not able to join us virtually. However, he will review the Facebook video of tonight, and I forwarded him, as I did all of you, the comments in advance. So I just wanted to let everybody know that's why he's not here.
thank you.
Welcome, everybody. As the mayor said, this is a public input session, an in-person version of the virtual meeting room to continue to get comments on the Beachfront Master Plan, which is just an initial plan right now. So what we're going to do tonight, this is a listening session for the town council. We're not going to have any discussions about any decisions or make any decisions tonight. This is just to get more information about what the public thinks. So Ricky Wyatt from VHB, who is our consultant, is here to give an overview. They're the ones that ran the survey back in March and the one that ran the virtual meeting room in September. So I'm going to ask Ricky to do an overview of that information, and then we're going to open it up to all of you for comments. So we've got mics that we'll pass around. We're just going to ask you please only speak one at a time. Raise your hand and wait till a mic comes to you before you speak. The mayor's running the meeting, so you can direct who speaks in what order. Please, if a lot of people are saying the same thing, the mayor has the purview to try and truncate that and just ask for summary input too. So we'll just take it as it goes. And with that, turn it over to Ricky.
They have to say where they live. They're
Okay,
standing.
gotcha. Yeah, when you take the microphone, if you could just please let us know who you are, where you live, we'd
Yes.
appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'll stand up. This is Ricky Wyatt, again with VHB. Good to be back from Cape Charles.
Yeah.
Do I need?
Yeah, otherwise-
Most of the time I'm loud enough.
So just so everyone understands, everybody in this room can hear without the mic, but people on Facebook can't. That's why you have to speak into the mic, okay?
Got it. All right. Again, Ricky Wyatt with VHB, landscape architect, and glad to be back in Cape Charles. I think I've mentioned before, I'm a Matthews County resident, been with VHB about 10 years. This 20 years practicing landscape architecture in a lot of small towns, and have really fallen in love with Cape Charles. On a non-beachfront master plan note, I'm excited to tell you that our rail to trail project is in Richmond, being asked for permission to bid. So those final plans went in. So the first 4 miles will be coming soon. Looks like the ad in December. So that's another side project, but we're excited to see the bike trail move forward.
Just so everyone understands, VHB was hired by VDOT and Canoni to work that project. They're not doing that for the town.
No.
But Ricky's doing both, so he can brief us on both.
I can brief you on both, but no, we turned those plans in last week, so I'm excited about that. So that one is moving forward. So tonight, as we do with a lot of our presentations, we kind of remind you how we got to where we got, and then we'll, as John mentioned, we'll move forward with the public comment period. Beachfront Master Plan Committee. Many of the members are here tonight. I'm sure, being a small town, you've talked to them in detail about the plan. So this is just a reminder of who those individuals are. The understanding of the project, going back to the RFP when it was put out, request for proposal when we applied for that. And so the basic understanding and some pictures. VHB has been involved with the beachfront here in Cape Charles for a number of decades. We were involved. Neville Reynolds, who was our coastal engineer, was responsible for some of the initial work on the jetty and the offshore breakwater. So we have a long history working over here, both for the town and then also privately. So we understand the project is to enhance the beach, promote economic development, improve accessibility, provide additional recreational opportunities, and then reevaluate the existing infrastructure. And that really, as a town, you do that through your comp planning, but Mason Avenue has obviously been improved over the years, and then Central Park. So this is just another piece of that, reevaluating that infrastructure. We developed this project charter early on, and again, it does provide a little bit of guidance that always go back. If you did have a chance to go in the virtual room, the charter is there front and center. It's a nice way to revisit the schedule so you understand that this is a process. It's not a one and done type of thing. And then, but it also restates the goals of the project, the missions, and the vision. So we find that to be very helpful on these projects that do span a number of months where you might not be able to attend every meeting, but the virtual room with this charter allows you to go back and kind of see what the framework was for the project. This is just an enlargement of the schedule, and you'll see we are here at the public council meeting. It's right on, October 3rd, right in the middle of the master plan process. The project kicked off back in February. We had that period of outreach we'll revisit, develop some concepts, and then we began developing the master plan, which is what you've seen online. This is not the end of the road, as John mentioned. We will take that information back, all the comments we've got, and make a refinement to that work with the council and develop this final document. We've had tremendous public input from the beginning. If you recall, the community survey that went out, that was distributed with utility bills, which everybody loves to get, but that went out back in March. The online version posted live, and then that ran for about a month. On that one, we did receive about 400 responses, just shy of 400 responses, and we did put the breakdown here. You'll see when we get to the comments that we've received so far, it's a little different breakdown, but it's important to understand who's making the comments, and because everybody experiences the beachfront a little differently, whether you're a full-time resident, whether you own property and you may rent that out in the community, or whether you live on the Eastern Shore or you just visit the town. I think everybody's input is valuable, but it should be considered with that status in mind, because everybody has a different perspective, obviously, if you're here 365 days a year. During that community survey, it was identified as some of the top 5 priorities, restrooms being number 1. I think that's been well known. We need an upgrade to the Eagle Scout project. That restroom has been there for a number of years. The town has been subsidizing that with porta potties. And so I think the vision for that obviously was the number 1 thing. Outdoor showers, enhanced ADA access, improvements to the boardwalk, and then shade were all listed in the community survey as the top 5 items. And so just, again, revisiting that. And so that was the key takeaways as the committee moved forward from that, was to look at those. We did, a couple of the other questions was the general size of the beach and then the dune size. We had a pretty good consensus on some of those. The one question that was really split right down the middle was the vendor question, which was a little surprising, but I think that's where we responded that it was almost a 50-50 split between whether you wanted the vendors concentrated in one area or spread out along the Bay Avenue. So just revisiting that a bit. So since then, the virtual room went live, and hopefully it looks like a pretty good number of people have been able to visit that. So that's where we are today, and we'll give, as John mentioned, give a little bit of recap. As of, I checked this morning, we had 154 responses, although I believe there were 2 that were duplicates. So the number might be 152. You will see the blue shading is significantly more, which is not surprising. When it comes down to actually presenting a plan, the people that live the closest are going to be the ones that respond the most. So the full-time residents here are making up 50% of the comments online, and then the other responses are split there on the left side. The orange is residing in Northampton County, not within the town limits. The green is the owns property but does not live here full-time. And then the red is maybe just visitors coming to the community. So we have seen and heard, we've been following along on the online responses and also on the responses that the town has shared with us, that there is some items that we need to be revisited. We're probably in about the 75% range where there are elements that are not necessarily in favor by the people that have made comments. So again, that's why we're here tonight. We've got a lot of written comments. John has gone through and read every one of them, and I think that's important to note that we're hearing those, and this is why we're here tonight, to hear them verbally again if you have any additional comments, but those comments have been received. And then from this, we will now then go to a work session back with the town council. So that's the plan, and if there's questions for me now, we can pull up the plan or to have a visual, but if not, we can open the floor to public comments.
Okay. So just to recap a little bit more detail on that. So yes, I read all the comments, but I also gave the comments to the council. So the council has seen all the comments verbatim, and they got them in advance so that they had time to read them. Generally speaking, there was a vast majority did not approve of the concept as currently designed. I think the number one reason was that they felt it was overreach or a little bit too aggressive, that it didn't that it detract from the small town quaint atmosphere of the town. So yes, so 75% of the comments said that. We heard you, and we will, and the council is going to take that into consideration. About 8% liked it, and then another 17% said they liked it, but conditionally if certain things were changed, sort of thing. So that's kind of how it broke out. Again, as I said earlier, that was our first concept that we put out there to get a review, and so we are. So we appreciate everyone that made the effort to put in those comments, because some of them were very detailed, and appreciate all the thought that went into that. So with that, if you've already made comments online, again, we've got them, and the council and I have already read them. So don't feel like you have to say them again tonight, unless if you don't want to. Other than that, Mr. Grossman.
I have a question. Are the comments going to be broken down any further than the 67 pages that we each got?
Yeah.
And when we talk comments, to be clear, many of the comments were multifaceted. So
Yeah.
one comment could have 10 items.
Exactly.
Are those going to be bucketed such that we know kind of how people feel about parking or the dunes or?
Well, that it could be done half a hundred ways. So I don't know how to do that. I mean, I think If you give me specific direction, things you want, we can try to make that happen. Otherwise, the intent was for you to read them all and interpret that yourself, you know.
Well, that's my question.
So,
Is
yeah.
that the intent to come to the work session,
Yeah.
having read and deciphered our own from that data?
Yes, that plus what you hear tonight, unless you have specific questions that we can work on between now and then.
All right.
I think there's some obvious things when you look at those 67 pages, and buckets would be helpful, just kind of in general. I mean, you can go through, we can go through each one, but it doesn't make a lot of sense for us individually to come up with all of those kind of areas. I think it makes sense to kind of give us some focus so that our work session is moving forward in the direction we need to. I know that can be labor intensive, but I mean, when I look at it, and I break down, some people were really organized and they labeled them 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which is very helpful. But I agreed with Paul, like the commonalities there, you know, does it make sense for each of us to go through and say, okay, parking 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, and come up with tick marks, or should we do that as an overall?
You need to give me the guidance, the things you want. You need to tell me what buckets you want. I mean,
Okay.
I might have my idea of buckets.
I think we
Paul
can
might
do
have
that.
his.
I think
you
we
might
can
have
do
yours.
that, but I think that's the
Give me
direction.
some guidance,
Yeah.
because you're right, it's going to be incredibly labor intensive. So the fewest number of buckets you can get away with, I would
Right.
appreciate.
Yeah, I think there's some general areas, and they're pretty
Yeah.
consistent
They are.
throughout all the
There was a lot of
comments.
consistency in all those comments.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
And,
Okay.
and I just want to make one comment before we start getting into the comments, if I could. I understand that I know there's a lot of passion and everything with this tonight, so if we could just hold any applause or any boos or anything else that's going to go on for all the comments, I would greatly appreciate it so we can get through this evening. And when we open it up, just let me know, because we will go right here for number 1.
Okay, yes, if you're ready, then let's,
We have another
Mr.
microphone.
Merrick,
You can
go
hold it.
ahead and-
You can keep that. Yeah.
if you're not using it, turn it off or we're going to get feedback.
Hey, I'm Paul Chandler. I live at 204 Bay Avenue, right on the bay. I guess my first question is for the council. We obviously paid $99,000 for this plan. I'm not sure everybody knows that. $99,000 we paid VHB for the 6 PowerPoint slides that you see here tonight. 99,000, yeah, $100,000. Let's just round that up. For the 6 PDF documents.
One person can talk at a time because we can't hear any of the comments from anybody else on Facebook, so.
Yeah, so let me
if
be
you can
clear for
address it to
everybody
the
on
council,
Facebook.
We'll answer the questions, and then from there, we'll go. And then if you have another follow-up question to the question, we will make sure we get the microphone to you.
Okay, so let me be clear for everyone on Facebook, and so that everybody's on the same page. The council here tonight approved $99,000 for VHB to come in and produce this plan that you're seeing tonight, which consists of 6 PDF documents. You can put them in a virtual room, you can call it whatever you like. It's 6 PDF documents, right? Okay, so my question is, the survey went out in April. Why did we sign the contract with VHB before we saw the feedback to the initial survey? Why didn't we send the survey out ourselves and then contract with VHB? That's my first question.
VHB did the survey.
Yeah, I know, and
We
that's
didn't do the survey.
well, that's the problem. Why didn't we do the survey and then take the results of that and decide if we needed to contract with VHB?
They brought a lot of expertise.
No, they didn't.
Well, that's your opinion.
Yeah, it is my opinion
but-
because
but-
I've worked in marketing communications for 30 years and this is what I do for a job.
I respectfully disagree. They brought the expertise that we needed to decide how to structure the survey and to put it out there, to compile it, to do all the work. I don't have much of a staff. Okay, so if you say we should do it, that means me. I'm doing it. Well, you know, I just
No,
don't
it doesn't
have-
mean you.
I
It
just don't
means
have a lot of-
you could have come to me, you could have come to a million people in this room that could have put a better survey together than the survey that VHB did. We've got the same problem with the comment section on the site right now, where nobody can interpret it because it's all open-ended questions. Same thing on the survey. I asked for as you know, John, I put a FIO request in this week for the survey results. Thank you for sending that to me. I've done a full analysis on the survey file. I can do the same thing on the comments file. If you'd like me to, I'd be happy to do that. Nobody wants this plan. Nobody wants it.
Well, that's what we're here to find out.
Right. 72% of the people that responded said everything is just right. And in the comments they said, don't mess with it. Okay? I'll come on to some more specifics later because I don't want to hog the meeting. But the one thing that really made me laugh was on the parking, perpendicular parking. 15 people put perpendicular parking as their number one choice of parking. And yet that's what we see on the plan. I don't think the results of the initial survey were taken into account at all. I'll give you another example. The maximum number of so-called outlooks on the beach was 3, and yet we've got 5 on the plan. Why? Nobody's asked for 5. Nobody asked for more seating. 3 people asked for benches. 3 people out of 400 asked for benches. 1 person asked for shade. And yet we've got pergolas, we've got flat areas. It's just crazy. And we're splitting up the dunes with these huge gaps, and my house is getting hit with sand because of that. Because somebody can have a nice outlook onto the beach. So, one more thing. Because the top 3 things were restrooms, and I think we pretty much all agree with that, right? Disabled access. Seems
If you
fair.
could keep addressing it to us, please, instead of the audience. I'd
Sure,
appreciate it.
okay.
Thank you.
Hold on, I'm just coming to... Restrooms, disabled access, and maintenance of what's already there. Those are the 3 things. That's what people want. On the plan, we have 1 disabled access way down on Jefferson. That's not what people want. They want to be able to get on the beach from everywhere with their disabled companions. So that's all I've got to say. I thought that might be useful just to kind of set the tone for the meeting. I'll hand over to somebody else.
We'll come to you. Second.
Susie Kerrigan,
No, you go ahead. Susan, we'll come to you after that.
My first question was to talk a little, see if you could talk a little about what the process was between the survey and coming up with the master plan. And specifically, was there any weighting of responses based on residency status? Were full-time, year-round residents' inputs weighted more heavily than people who have visited town occasionally? Are we doing Q&A or no?
Okay.
That's a question for the
That's for you.
Go ahead, if you want to, or I can. You can talk. So I mean, so the process, the survey was considered. We showed you the slide. We had put together a committee of stakeholders, and they're the ones that kind of met with the consultant. The survey was considered, and yes, the responses from full-time residents and property owners here weighed more heavily than answers from people who were not. But the survey was not the one and only source of our information. We were getting information from our experts, from the science involved with the wave action and the wind, and the erosion rates of the dunes and all of that stuff that the committee took into consideration when putting all this together. And then it took us several months to do that. Then we had some concepts, some rough concepts. We met with the town council. We shared those rough concepts with the town council. We got their blessing, and then VHB put together the plan that we put out on the virtual room for all of you to respond to.
So related to that then, it sounds like that's a bit of a constraints analysis that was done, or were there considerations for permitting requirements, costs, environmental impacts, regulatory constraints, ownership constraints, infringement on owners? Was there a constraints analysis as part of the development of this plan?
Absolutely. Anything we do, we know we have to get permitted, and that is part of the discussion, but it was also part of the next step too, to discuss phasing and grants and sustainability items that can be attractive for funding sources. So the focus of the work was within the right-of-way and the beachfront, and we did not make adjustments to private property. But as with any plan, we would look at phasing and present those options, but we have to have a plan that's approved by the community, approved by the town, before we can recommend the phases and how you would fund that moving forward.
I think when you ask the town for input and you produce something that doesn't reflect that input, there's a lack of transparency and there's a lack of trust. I'll speak for myself. I am unclear about how we got from A to B. I am unclear how my input as a full-time resident was weighed against someone who has vacationed here. I think we just heard the council discussing how are we going to bucket this. That's a similar question. There's no process here that I can see. I don't think people want it. It is our tax money. It does affect those of us who live here, whether you're just looking in the right-of-way or not. I would say one of the more interesting points of the survey that I saw was that people are willing to walk 4 blocks to the beach. I think you've been hearing from us, because I know I've told you more than once, that we would like to solve the parking problem for full-time residents. And, maybe throw some money at that. If people are willing to walk 4 blocks, that means the first 4 blocks of your town are periodically not accessible to people who live here year-round. And while that might not be a big deal for someone who lives on the other side of town or someone who's healthy and young, it is a big deal for some people. We'd like to be able to park in front of our houses. I think you got feedback here that you can use for other issues that you've heard. I do think, too, that we are a historic district. We have to ask permission to do most anything other than change a light bulb. This beach is adjacent to the historic district, and it does not look anything like the natural historical beach that is here, even if you put up a poster with black and white photos on it. And it does not complement the character of the historic district. We are 1 block from here. It does matter to us. And those are my comments, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Susan?
My name is Elizabeth Pruitt, and I live at 1 Tazewell.
Thank you.
Susan Kerrigan, 530 Tazewell. I have 2 questions, and I might have missed. I remember when all the surveys went out, but when you sent out this beachfront master plan for people to review it, how did that go out to people? I need, only because I had 2 people, 2 neighbors of mine who, they don't live here full time, but they come on the weekends. I mean, this is their second home type of thing. And both of them looked at me like, what are you talking about? So I don't remember. How did you send that out to people? Did people, do you remember?
Well, a number of ways. We announced it at many public meetings. We put it on our Facebook page. We put it on our web page. We put it in the Town Gazette newsletter. Those
Okay.
are some of the major ways that we got the word out.
I was just, like I said, I didn't totally remember, and when I mentioned it, these two people said, oh, I did the survey, and I said, no, I'm not talking about the survey, I'm talking about this, and they both said, anyway. My other thought is, not a question, but what Paul said earlier. I think in order to make a correct list of yeses and nos, I think we do have to have somebody take each one of those comments and say, okay, parking, 12 people don't like it. Bathrooms, 10 people want it, 10 people don't want it. Because if not, it's not going to be a fair, what's the word I'm looking for? Comparison. It really isn't. And I know that's a big job. I'm not saying it isn't. And I'm not saying, John, you have to do it. I'm just saying somebody really has to compare every single thing. Because if not, it's you're missing the information and it's not going to be fair. Because I mean, I think we do need bathrooms, but you got to make sure that everybody agrees on. So that's my two comments. So I don't know who's going to do it. I do it if you want me to do it, but it is going to be a big job, but I think it needs to be done.
Well, you can't speak a second time, but everyone else has had a chance to speak once.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Aaron Harvey. I've lived in Cape Charles since 2006. I currently live at the corner of Randolph and Peach Street. I'll try to skip this because it sounds like the general consensus, at least, is sort of similar to mine, which is basically overall, I sort of feel like this plan is kind of like paving paradise, really. And some of it seems like improvements. It's really going to wipe away what's special about the town. And I've been supportive of a lot of other things. I love on the north end of town, the new sort of bicycle path promenade. I love the new changes to the north end of Peach. I love the new changes to the south end of Peach, my backyard, on the commercial block of Peach. Strawberry Street Plaza. I mean, there are lots of places in this town. I mean, the Central Park, all these little beautiful plazas and brick and sidewalks are nice, and we'll have more opportunity along the harbor front, and if we ever take over the railroad land. But the beach is something entirely different. The beach is, we have other places for plazas and brick and sidewalks, but not the beach. The beach is a short little piece of our town. It's what frames us with the Chesapeake Bay, and the fact that it constantly needs tending and occasional dredging or dune management shouldn't be considered an expensive chore, but it's really an asset that we have something wild and free right there on the edge of our town, that we have a natural beach. And for me, walking through like the uneven, unmanicured little cut through the dune grass that changes that's different this year than it was 5 years ago, and it'll be different 5 years from now. I love that. That's what I did. I don't want to walk across the same paved brick beach entrance every time. And then, so a few specific issues, I would say, extending the breakwaters and adding additional breakwater, I think it's perhaps counterintuitively counterproductive in my mind, because I use our beach in many ways. I'm a kite surfer, I'm a volleyball player, I hang out at the beach with friends and family like everybody else. I'm also in my flying boat. I'm looking down at the beach and I'm looking for, I see where the crowds are because I'm trying to see where can I pull into the beach. And the thing is, when our beach gets crowded, what happens is everyone still just squeezes into that waterfront property. Everybody wants to be waterfront with their umbrella and their towel. And so as it gets crowded, people don't fill up the back of the beach. They just get closer and closer together in the front. So when you set up a new breakwater, while sure you're going to maybe create more square footage of sand for us, you are actually shortening the part that we all want, which is the waterfront. You're getting rid of waterfront and just adding more back rows, and we're actually not using the back rows. You walk down to the beach on the 4th of July and you think it's so crowded, and it is, but if you actually look at it, it's crowded on the waterfront and there's space behind. Now, if we could, I'm all for dredging every once in a while. More sand behind gives us nice recreational opportunities to throw a Frisbee, but it's not where people are going to hang out with their beach towel and their umbrella. So adding the breakwaters really, I think, shortens the usable part of the beach. And then a couple other improvements that I personally would love that don't require bricks and cement. The volleyball courts, I appreciate seeing them in the plan, but they need to be aligned ideally, so that's not one team looking into the sun, like along the beach. Also not up next to the sidewalk where the ball's gonna be crossing the sidewalk and crossing the roadway. It's just a couple of poles in the sand behind the dune. It's really simple. It doesn't take up any space. You can pull them out. There's nothing permanent about them. One thing I would think would be great would be to add sunfish catamaran storage, rentable spaces from the town, throw that over on Love Beach, what I call Love Beach, over past the flagpole. The dogs can play there too. I like the idea of the dog beach. I also think some bike racks mixed in with golf carts would be nice too. I think it'd be great if we got this town to be, you leave your car and you either bike, walk, or golf cart around. Anyway, those are my comments. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Odessa Sullivan, and I live on Strawberry Street. My grandfather purchased that property in 1944, and the family's been living there ever since, and we've seen a lot of changes in Cape Charles. One thing I must say about the beach is simplicity, and that's what we like. Kids love it. The parents of the kids love it. We all love simplicity. Overkill is what I see. It's overkill. We're a small town with a very small beach. And years ago, we had a meeting, and the beach came up, and they said, well, we want to make improvements, but we don't want Virginia Beach, we don't want Ocean City, and so on and so forth. Well, it looks like this is what you want to give us. We do not want it. Simple as that. We don't want it. We don't want little shops. We don't want selling umbrellas. We don't want selling chairs. We don't want selling anything. We want to just enjoy our beach. I've talked with people living here in Cape Charles, people who live around Cape Charles, other parts of Virginia, outside of Virginia, outside of the country that comes here. And the one thing they say is that they love this nice little quiet beach. Leave it that way.
All the way to the back, Laura.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Laura Wigan. I live at 632 Madison Avenue, and I wrote all this gobbledygook that pretty much everybody else has said. So again, I like the word overkill. I use that as well. Simplicity, natural, that's kind of the charm of our Cape Charles Beach. I do agree we need a little bit of ADA access. We need some bathrooms for people to use because they're always looking to use bathrooms or changing in areas. However, I think a lot of it was just, I don't know how it became this huge thing from all these little questions. It's not what I envisioned for Cape Charles small town community feel. And the one thing that I want to go back to is parking. I think that's pretty much kind of where we stand with the issue that people, especially toward the beach, have that live in town. And I think that there's kind of a simple way to remedy that with the residents or the homeowners getting, 1 or 2 permits per household, and that they can use anywhere. And then along the beach, along Mason, wherever, Strawberry Street, you could do those pay kiosk parkings Or if visitors are coming in and there's more cars than 2 per household visiting that house, then they have to go to the kiosk and rent a daily pass or a weekly pass from those kiosks. It's very, very simple. They just put it in the window. Then the police can see if they're displaying these little permits for the week or however long they're here for. It raises revenue for the city. It would hopefully offset some other expenses that maybe us residents and taxpayers here would have. And hopefully us permanent residents would have free passes that we wouldn't have to pay for parking. And the tourism can offset that with these pay per stay kiosks, whether it's a day or a week or however long they're staying. And I think that will kind of alleviate a lot of the issues that are kind of stemming from having to do so much overkill and planning. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lori Blewett at 206 Tazewell, and we have lived here part-time for 30-plus years and love Cape Charles. And one of the reasons that we came here was because it was so quaint, the beach was so wonderful, there weren't a lot of tourists back in those days, and granted we have that now, but some of the articles that I've read in newspapers and magazines where they target Cape Charles and say what a great place it is and bring your families, nowhere do they say, you guys need to fix this place up. They're saying this is the place you need to go because it's unlike anywhere else on the East Coast. So that was my main thought. Also, the life jacket stands on the beach. I think another one of those for parents, and the bike racks is a good idea. The ADA compliant, and bathrooms, definitely. Let's see. Nowhere in the plan, and I guess that would be something down the road, did they say what it would cost to do some of these improvements or all of these improvements? And then once they're done, well, if we do them, how are we going to pay for it? And if we do them, how are we going to maintain it? How many new employees and contractors do we need to hire to maintain the things we have? I think the Historical Society took their own time to go down and clean up the King Neptune statue because it hadn't been maintained. The sidewalks get overgrown. That's a lot to take care of. And the drainage problem in town when we have rain. A friend of mine said to me when they came here 50 years ago, there weren't any dunes and the water was coming up on the sidewalk, the beachfront. So we need dunes, we need dunes. Now we have dunes and people are saying they want to take them down. So I don't know whether man-made dunes really do keep the water out of town or not, but if you want to go look at the water, you can walk 15 feet and see everything. So my request is please don't do all of these expensive paving ideas to our sweet little town. Thank you.
I will just address your comments about the cost estimates, because that's a very valid point. And we're not that far along in the design yet, that's why. So the next step. Once we decide what it is we want to do, it's part of the scope of work of our consultant to then do conceptual cost estimates. And that's when we would talk about how what grants we're going to go after. That's the other part of their scope of work, is that they have expertise and successful experience getting grants for other communities. So I've got a plan for future years in our capital budget, some money earmarked for matching money for grants. For not this year, but for like next year and the year after. Because this is going to be a many-year, process to try and do this. So first we have to land on what it is we want to build. Then we'll do conceptual cost estimates, and then the council will help prioritize what we're going to do first.
In accordance with other capital needs that we have within the county.
Of course.
So this doesn't bubble up to number one.
Correct.
It's going to be fighting for.
Correct.
Exactly.
So the council gets the big bucks.
Yeah.
If you could send the microphone to Rose. Oh, you got it. Thank you, Rose.
My name is Linda Hitchings. I live at 606 Monroe, and I'm fairly new to the town. I moved here because of its charm in 2022, and I moved from Goochland County, where I'd lived 48 years. I would be very disappointed and very disappointed if this town became an Ocean City or Virginia Beach. That's not why I moved here. That's not why people come visit here. I'm amazed that we don't have an estimate of what that would cost. While I was in Goochland County, we built a new school. I headed up that referendum committee and took it to voters to get the referendum passed. We knew once we had plans like we have now, we had an estimate of how much it would cost. I'm amazed at this point we don't have a cost, an idea, an estimate of what this would cost. It looks to me a lot more than this town is able to support. And I would hate to see this town change in any way. The beachfront, people come here because of the beach, not because of a lot of other things, but because of the beach, a lot of small children. I appreciate your time, appreciate you listening.
Thank you.
I can get police protection if I need it, if I'm sick. So, I guess my understanding of plans like this.
Name.
I'm sorry. My name's Clayton Newman. I live in the first block from the gazebo. I live here full time. I've had my home since '05. I've been coming here for over 30 years since my mother moved here, who lives right next door to me. My understanding of what this plan and this process was going to entail was that we were going to get some feedback. We were going to address some things that are real issues. I mean, we can all say we hate the plan, and then we seem to kind of, in a peppered fashion, go around and say, but yeah, we do need to fix the parking. We do need restrooms. We do need accessibility, not just for ADA for handicapped people, but for people as they age. If we want to make this a place where you don't just want a vacation, you want to actually live and be able to age in place, it would be nice. It's very sad for me that my mother at 85, and I hope she's not listening on Facebook, but she lives a half a block from the beach. I don't know when the last time she saw the water is, because we can all say, just don't be lazy. If you want to see the sunset, walk up there and watch it. Well, easier said than done for some people. It doesn't mean she's in a wheelchair. But there's a lot of us who, could use something to hold on to, and it would be great. We used to sit in the gazebo and watch the sunsets right from the gazebo, and certainly this plan is grandiose, is the word that I used in the forum a few weeks ago. But I thought that this process and processes like this that I've been involved in the past have been about kind of offering, like when you go to a restaurant and they offer you a menu, you don't slam it closed and throw it at the waiter and say, I can't eat all this. You say, what's my appetite? What might appeal to me from this? And that we would be in a process. And the reason there are no numbers associated with anything yet, I think, is because we don't even know what makes the most sense for us yet. But we do need things that this plan entails. Do we need 30 picnic tables at the love sign? Certainly not. But it's a starting point, or at least I thought that would be the process, where we always talk about this wonderful community that we want to preserve and maintain, where we are neighbors and we're friendly to one another and we say hello to one another and talk to each other on our front porches. And then you get into some of these meetings where there's just such vitriol, and it's hard to hear sometimes, because the council, the town staff, they can do whatever we want, but it's kind of up to us to create the sense of community that we want to live in. So I don't see anyone up there right now with some big agenda. There's no developer sitting on the council. There's nobody who's getting cash in their pockets trying to push through some big multi-billion-dollar project. I mean, this, as you see it, is years away from even beginning. A decade or more, if you did it all, which I don't even think is necessarily the intent. And I think a lot of people digested this as, surprise, look what we're doing on the beachfront. There are no bulldozers idling in Cheriton waiting for this meeting to be over. I mean, this is like step 3 of a multi-stepped process where you figure out what you want to do. I love the beach, but I'm not going to stand here and tell you it's perfect. I mean, I love to meander through the dunes as we did when we first came here, like Aaron talked about. I love being down there playing volleyball, and I'm glad you said the directional thing about the courts, because I thought the same thing. But, you know, you see people visit here struggling to figure out, where am I supposed to park? Am I supposed to angle up like they do over there, which is bizarre? Or am I supposed to go perpendicular because I can fit in the same width of a regular car? And then he does it in a car. I mean, it's chaos down there. And the lack of parking that is contributed to by end-to-end food trucks with generators that run all day long, there's nothing quaint and charming about that. So the idea of having maybe a concentrated place where there's hardwired power, where you can eliminate that noise, where you maybe do have a couple of tables with a little bit of shade, it doesn't seem like such a bad idea. But certainly, to everyone's point, this is a lot. But it doesn't mean we need to just blow it up and say, leave us alone, we don't need anything. So I guess I would just say, you know, be a part of the process. And also, and this will be the controversial thing I say, realize that I think a lot of people expected this to be one of those nights where it would overflow and you wouldn't be able to get in the room, because this is a very hot topic right now. But it also, for a lot of people who decided to go watch the sunset and play pickleball, they weren't that mad about it. They may not have filled out the first survey or the second, and that's their problem if the things happen, for all of us, if you don't participate, things happen that you may not agree with or want to see happen. But I would encourage everybody to stay involved in this and to find the good in it and to stop vilifying one another about your opinions on those fronts. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. We'll circle back around up front, and then we'll come back over here.
You have another one that hasn't
Oh,
spoken.
who else? I'm sorry.
Mark.
Oh, sorry, Mark.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My name is Mark Ussery. I live at 117 Strawberry and came to Cape Charles the first time back in 1996. I've seen a lot of changes, and I appreciate the changes that we've made. I saw the plan at the beach as aspirational that was presented, very aspirational. But I also saw some things that made sense. And a number of people I've talked to really liked the plan. I don't say all of them did. Some of them had some objections. But it seems like it's a list of ideas, or it's a combination of ideas that we can pick and choose from. And I think we can coalesce around some concepts that are there. We see the visual of what is presented for whatever the improvement is, and we can take that and work together to come up with a way to make the beach a little better, a little more accessible, certainly, and certainly more for those of us that are a little bit, of the age where dermatologists suggest that we not go to the beach. A little shade would be nice other than under a tent. So I'm just suggesting that as well. So there may be some folks that didn't respond to that way, but I think they should. We should look at it as kind of the menu that was mentioned earlier, and really come up with some concepts on what exactly can be done.
Thank you. Any other first-timers?
Sam Jones, 538 Monroe, and Julie and I have been here since 2015 and permanently since 2021, I think it was. So I agree with many of the comments. You know, I love the word simplicity. That's certainly where I would go as well. To the last couple of comments, though, what I would say is, you know, master plans are not menus. You make your menu now. And so you look at what's been presented up to this point, you get the feedback that you're getting, and thank you very much for doing that. And then you take that you have to create a broader list of options or a subset of the options that you have to get to a master plan. Having been at places and been involved in developing master plans, what I will say is whatever you pass 6 years from now, someone is going to say, well, the town council back in 2024 passed the master plan to do this. And so there is some weight that goes along with that process. The other thing I would say is, and I would echo John, I think you got there at the end when you were talking about the grant funding, is you make decisions about what you want to accomplish, then you look for money. You don't say, oh, there's money available, therefore this is a good idea. The idea has to be good before you look for the funds. And then some good ideas there are no funds for. But again, thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. You may.
So, Senator, you're exactly right, because we had a harbor master plan that was done, what year was that? 2008. Yeah, 2008, and that vanished, because newer council decided in the direction of the town was going. You're exactly right, we changed it. So you're exactly right, that's all I wanted to say. Because we've done this before, absolutely.
Come back up front.
Yeah, I just wanted to come back to at the start of the meeting, we were talking about the comments in the virtual room. VHB should be doing all of the analysis on that data for you and giving you a breakdown. You shouldn't be looking to your staff or me or anybody else in this room to do it. It should be on them to do that and not give you 67 pages of comments. That's all I had to say.
If you can go right over here. Thank you.
I would like to apologize for anyone who assumed or I gave the impression that I did not want anything done to the beach. That is not true. What I'm saying is, do not give us more than fit. You know, we gained a few pounds, we can't fit those pants anymore. So all I'm saying is, it's a small town. Give us small. Give it simple. That's all I'm saying. Everything changed from day to day, year to year. And a lot of changes have come to Cape Charles over the years. Some I didn't like, but then there are a lot I did like. And improving the beach area is a good thing. Just not give us too much.
Yeah, just as we move into okay, what should we do? I just have a couple of comments. Hearing everybody talk about the ADA access, I think is a nice idea. I would just say also, again, everything in balance is that if every single one of our paths has one of those little blue things like it's at Bay Creek, then can we go every other or something? Because I do some just natural sand walkway is nice, and then also some ADA access, if we could have a balance of that. Mm-hmm. The fishing pier would be great if you wheeled down the fishing pier and then there was a ramp down to the sand at the end instead of the steps that are there now. That would be a simple use of that's already mostly there, and it'd be a quick and easy thing to fix, to add that there. And then the other thing I would say in general, one thing that's sort of nice about our town now, it's just sort of a natural thing over the 100 whatever years of this town, is that our beach, down towards the flagpole and the love sign and Mason Avenue, all of our businesses are, and the fishing pier, that's sort of the busier end. And then you go up to the north end, it's kind of the quieter end. And whether you're buying or renting here, you can kind of choose. Do you want to be down next to the fishing pier and the restaurants, or do you want to go up to the north where there's kind of not as much going on? And so I think, certainly a bathroom up at the north end would be nice. But for the most part, I would say leave the rest of those blocks just kind of as they are, and then focus any of these developments on the flagpole area with the fishing pier. Just build out that corner. That's where you could have power for the food trucks and, whatever the ideas are that the community does like out of this. I would say, instead of trying to sprinkle it everywhere, give people the choice and sort of build out the natural selection that's already happened, where we kind of have a more developed corner there and we have a less developed north of the beach, and then people kind of can pick and choose.
Anybody else this evening? You guys good?
I'll just wrap up with where we are, where we're going. So, the the comment was made that, you know, we've spent some money for VHB. Yes, we did. But that's what professional consultants cost. We did an RFP, and we got five proposals. We select them based on quality, not on price, but as it turned out, our first choice was the cheapest. So of all of our choices, we wound up with the cheapest one, even though we selected them based on quality. We have been using them for months. They've been working with the committee, they've been working with council. There's a whole team of different expertise that they bring to the discussion, and they're not done. So you saw we're only in the middle part of the master planning phase there. So now we have to go back. We have to go meet with council in a couple of weeks. We're going to get additional guidance. We're going to have to go back, retool that whole design, and go at it again. So there is value to that kind of expertise. That's not something the town could have done on its own. I certainly don't have the expertise or the staff to do it. So I get that some people disagree with that, but that's the path we chose, and these are the types of things you need to do to make progress, and when you don't have a lot of resources in house. So like I said, we will have council will be meeting in a couple of weeks. We'll get some feedback from council. We'll try to narrow down those comments into certain categories. And again, if you can give me some feedback to what you were looking for, I'd appreciate it. And then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I think if each of us can provide you a list of those particular items like parking, dual management, like whatever.
Yeah, and don't just say parking. Tell me what about parking? Are you talking about the orientation of parking, or do they like the parking plan or not? There's there's a half a hundred ways you could slice this thing.
Parking is an issue. Now, I don't know it's a problem, but it is an issue. It came up big time in STR and got put off. It came up big time again in this. So, and we had plans to study parking. So, the whole town parking needs to be looked at. Every time we do something and it comes up again, just reinforces the need to get on with this parking study to see what we can do to help alleviate that. And, whether it's part of this or, it's got to be something that is more. It's the entire town. The beach in the summer is a parking problem. The beach in the winter is no parking problem.
Correct.
Correct.
And I don't think you solve it for the summer without addressing short-term rental parking, all the other parking issues that we've been talking about.
John, could you just explain where VHB's engagement ends? Like what do we pay for? Where's it end before the next phase starts?
Phase one ends with the final publishment of the strategic plan and adoption by the town council. Then once we move to implement that plan, if there's any projects within that plan that the council decides they're going to do and they fund it, then phase two of the contract would be negotiated for the actual design work.
Now, at the work session, I'm assuming that we're going to talk about what the subsequent steps are. Council will provide input, but what I'm fearful is another rock is brought and somebody goes, I don't like it. And we're going to have to talk through how many iterations are going to be necessary in order to finalize what our concepts are for a master plan.
Right. And I think it was said well earlier that this is still a menu. I think a menu is a good analogy now. Sam, I agree that a master plan is not a menu, but we're not at a master plan yet. We're still at the menu stage. Okay? We're picking off the menu to determine what our master plan will be. So I'm asking you to pick off the menu. So what I'm looking for in that work session is for you to look at all these, what everyone has said, and you start picking off the menu, saying what you want in that next iteration. I'm not sure. Well, the work session's in 2 weeks, and then we'll probably need a few weeks or a month after that.
So real quick, the question was, what is our timetable? If you want to grab a microphone, sorry, because it's not on Facebook. Oh, no, you're fine. I just want to make sure we don't start getting comments on Facebook.
So I just want to be aware of like what month I should start looking for an updated virtual room from VHB?
The original hope was to have the master plan finished before the end of the year. I don't know if we're going to make that now or not.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The work session is open to the public. It's not interactive, but you can come and listen. So that's October 23rd, am I correct?
Yes, it's up on the screen.
Yeah, the 23rd.
So for those people who are interested to follow along at that level, we welcome that. If you didn't get to say something tonight that you remember, in the middle of the night tonight, please send comments to Libby at the clerk at capecharles.org, and we get those. Just ask for that to be shared. We're doing this for you and for us. We're residents, and it's very important. So this dialogue doesn't end tonight. It should be just beginning. So between now and 2 weeks from when we start, if you really have something that you feel like we didn't cover or maybe we didn't understand or that you want to make sure that we do, we want to hear that from you.
So I'll just add that it does help to have an explanation, but the still images are one thing. So it's been part of the process. The last council meeting, we did present and walk through the designs. There were comments made by the council. We went back, worked with the committee, modified the design, and that's where we got to at that point. So I appreciate the offer to the public to come and listen and be part of the work session. Having a still plan is hard to interpret if you're not dived into this every day. Elements such as sustainable, permeable paving, working within the footprint. Bay Avenue is a really wide road. It's excess pavement now, so what we're trying to do is reduce it. Maybe that didn't come across in the plan, so I would like to, I appreciate that invitation because I do think that's been mentioned tonight. There are some pieces that can definitely move forward, but this is a process where we will revise. And as far as the schedule question, we want to deliver a plan that everybody likes. So if it needs to go another month, then we'll make that work. So that's why I actually added another month just in the schedule for tonight's presentation, knowing that we were going to need that time to take what we hear from the council and these public comments to revise the plan.
That's all I got, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
So we have their layout and the suggestions of what they've presented, and our committee and town council have been working on together to come up with ideas of things that might fit for Cape Charles. So Paul had mentioned there were 5 things that were most important to people who responded to the survey. If you pick those 5 things and move forward, let's say with bathrooms and ADA and everything we've talked about tonight, wouldn't we then just hire a contractor to implement those things? Do we need a third party involved in those things that we want to do?
Yeah, the work's got to be designed. When you hire a contractor, you have to provide them with
So they would be
designs.
the architect.
Well, they would design it. Right, so once the community approves and the council approves a plan, each of these, we'll have it broken down into small digestible pieces, right? So each piece as it comes up will have to be designed, and then we put it out to bid to a contractor and we do it.
I gotcha.
And more importantly, not just the design, but the permitting that was mentioned earlier. Environmental DEQ permitting, state permitting, DHR, all the agencies that we deal with, the Army Corps, various agencies would have to have a permit, and they have to have a plan before they can issue that permit.
Right. The big one's VDOT, because we're working with
VDOT's right away.
He's got a lot of experience working with VDOT. So yes, the permitting's big, the design, the permitting, and then let's not forget the money, the grants, right?
Yeah,
so
the
they're to help us to try and find the money to pay for this. So it's a complex process still.
Grab the microphone, please. Sorry.
And I apologize, I know I've been talking a lot. I'm still unclear on the scope of the work that VHB are doing. Are you saying that they're going to design all of the things that are recommended, and that's within the scope of this initial phase?
No, that's phase one. We're in phase one now. Phase
so
two
so why
is separate.
so from what you're saying, and maybe I've misinterpreted, it sounds as though you're going to give VHB the next phase to do the design.
When we put this out for an RFP, we bid both, we solicited both phases. So we met all of our procurement code for phase one and phase two. We only negotiated the phase one contract because we don't know what phase two is yet, right? Because it's dependent on phase one.
So are you telling me that VHB have got the contract for phase two? You've basically awarded it to them?
We can give it to them if we negotiate a mutually agreeable price. We don't have to go back out for another RFP. We've already satisfied that procurement requirement. So yes, we would go to them first, and if for some reason we couldn't work out a price with them, then I'd go to someone else.
Okay, thanks.
You're a very good Phil Donahue.
So that being said, as we talked about, the next work session will be the 23rd at 6. And if there's nothing else, can I get a motion for adjournment?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thanks, everybody, for coming.
Yes, thank you.